I always thought love meant having someone who'd never walk away when life got messy. My name's Claire, I'm 29, and for the past 3 years, I'd been with someone I believe was my forever, Ethan, 32. From the outside, we looked solid. Sunday morning coffee runs, late night talks about our dreams, and the kind of laughter that makes your stomach hurt. I trusted him with every part of me. Ethan wasn't just my boyfriend. He was my safe place. I remember sitting on the porch one summer night, fireflies glowing around us, and he promised, "I'll always be here for you, no matter what." That sentence stuck in my heart like a lifeline. I clung to it, believing it meant I'd never have to face the storms of life alone. My friends used to joke that we were that couple who had it all figured out. And maybe I let myself believe it too much. I was proud of us. Proud that after years of failed relationships, I had finally found someone who made me feel seen, loved, and secure. I let my guard down completely. But here's the thing. Sometimes the people who promise the loudest are the ones who end up leaving when it counts. Looking back, maybe there were signs. Moments when his smile didn't quite reach his eyes, or when he seemed distracted during conversations. But I brushed it off. Love makes you blind, doesn't it? I wanted so badly to believe we were unshakable. If you've ever trusted someone so deeply only to later wonder if you were living in an illusion, then you'll understand where my story's heading. Stick around, because this is where things get real. Life has a cruel way of testing the promises people make. For me, that test came out of nowhere. A little over a year ago, I got a call from my doctor that flipped my world upside down. My health had taken a serious turn, and I was staring down a storm I never saw coming. I won't go into heavy medical details, but let's just say it was the kind of diagnosis that changes how you look at everything overnight. I remember sitting on the edge of my bed, phone still in my hand, my whole body shaking. My first thought wasn't even about myself. It was Ethan. He had always said he'd be there through thick and thin. And in that moment, I needed him more than ever. I needed his calm voice, his hand in mine, his reassurance that we'd get through it together. When I told him, his reaction was off. At first, he said the right words. "I'm here for you. We'll figure this out." But his eyes darted away, and his tone lacked the warmth I was used to. Instead of wrapping me in comfort, he seemed distant, like he was already planning his escape. That night, while I lay awake staring at the ceiling, my chest heavy with fear, he scrolled on his phone beside me. I wanted to scream, "Look at me! I'm falling apart, and you promised you'd never let me face this alone." But I stayed quiet, telling myself maybe he just needed time to process. Deep down, though, something told me things weren't right. Love is supposed to rise in the face of hardship, not shrink away. And the man I thought would fight beside me was already starting to retreat. At first, I kept convincing myself that Ethan was just overwhelmed, that maybe he needed time to absorb everything. After all, this was heavy. But the little things he did, or didn't do, started stacking up like bricks on my chest. When I had to schedule my first specialist appointment, I asked him if he could come with me. His response? "I've got a busy week at work. Can you just update me afterward?" I nodded. But inside, I felt something break. That appointment wasn't just about results. It was about not walking into that cold, sterile office alone. Then there were the nights when I needed someone to talk me down from my spiral of fear. Instead of holding me, Ethan would shrug and say, "You worry too much." Try to get some sleep, he'd roll over, leaving me staring into the dark, swallowing tears so he wouldn't hear me cry. One evening, when my emotions finally boiled over, I asked him point blank, "Do you even want to be here for me?" He sighed like I was burdening him. "I'm trying, okay? But you're making everything so dramatic?" His words cut deeper than the diagnosis itself. I felt confusion, anger, and heartbreak all at once. Wasn't this the man who once promised me forever? The one who used to call me his everything? Now, when I needed just a fraction of that love, he treated me like an inconvenience, It was in those moments, sitting in silence while he scrolled on his phone, that I realized something terrifying. I was already starting to fight this battle alone. The night it happened is burned into my memory. I had just come back from another doctor's visit, clutching a folder of test results that felt heavier than any stone. My hands were shaking, my heart desperate for reassurance. I walked through the door hoping Ethan would at least ask how it went. Instead, he was already packing a bag. At first, I thought he was just going on a work trip or staying overnight at his brother's. But when I asked, he didn't even look me in the eye. "Emily, I can't do this anymore," he muttered, zipping his suitcase. I froze, like my entire body had turned to ice. "Can't do this? What does that even mean?" My voice cracked as panic clawed at my chest. He finally glanced at me, but there was no love in his eyes, just a mix of guilt and detachment. All of this. It's too much. I didn't sign up for this kind of life. Those words shattered me. Too much? I wasn't asking him to cure me. I was asking him to stand beside me, the way partners are supposed to. I begged. I cried. I asked if he remembered the vows we made, the promises whispered in quiet nights. But he just shook his head, grabbed his bag, and walked out the door. The sound of that door clicking shut was louder than any scream. I collapsed to the floor, clutching that folder of results, realizing I wasn't just facing a health battle anymore. I was facing abandonment, betrayal, and a heartbreak so deep it felt like it might swallow me whole. And yet, through the blur of tears, a new question burned inside me. If the person I trusted most could leave me at my lowest, how was I supposed to find the strength to keep going? The first morning after Ethan left felt like waking up in an empty house that no longer belonged to me. His shoes were gone, his cologne no longer lingered in the hallway, and the silence was deafening. For weeks, I moved through my days like a ghost, dragging myself to appointments, pretending to eat, and crying myself to sleep. The loneliness was crushing. Every time I reached for my phone, instinct told me to call him, to tell him I was scared or tired. But I had to remind myself, he chose to leave. He didn't want to carry this weight with me. There were moments I felt pure anger. How could someone who once promised forever abandon me at my weakest? I wanted to scream, to break things, to make him feel even an ounce of the pain he left behind. Other times, guilt hit me. I questioned if maybe I was too much, if my struggles had driven him away. But somewhere between those waves of grief and rage, a quiet voice inside me whispered, "You're still here, Emily. You're still breathing." So I began, slowly, to pick up the pieces. I leaned on friends I had neglected, like Sarah, who showed up with soup and a listening ear. I started journaling late at night, pouring every ounce of fear and sadness onto the page instead of letting it eat me alive. I even allowed myself small victories, watering the plants, cooking a meal, making it to a doctor's visit on my own. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't easy. But little by little, I began to see that while Ethan's absence left a void, it also left me with something unexpected: space to rediscover my own strength. And in that fragile strength, a new resolve was born. If he couldn't be there for me, then I would learn how to be there for myself. Just when I thought I was destined to carry everything on my own, life surprised me. It didn't happen in one big moment. It was a series of small kindnesses that stitched together into something powerful. One afternoon, I ran into Mr. Parker, my elderly neighbor, while struggling to carry groceries inside. Without hesitation, he took the bags from my arms and said, "You don't need to do this all by yourself, Emily." His words cracked something open in me. I'd been so focused on Ethan's betrayal that I hadn't noticed the quiet care around me. Sarah, my best friend, became my lifeline. She called every morning, sometimes just to say, "You've got this." Other times she dragged me out for coffee, insisting I needed fresh air and laughter more than pity. At first, I resisted, but her persistence reminded me that friendship could be just as grounding as love. Even my coworkers, people I never expected much from, began showing up. Rachel from accounting left little notes on my desk with simple messages like, "Proud of you for being here today." Each gesture, no matter how small, felt like a hand pulling me out of the dark. And then there was the support group I stumbled into online, a place where strangers shared stories of loss, heartbreak, and survival. Reading their words made me feel less isolated. Like my pain wasn't a lonely island, but part of a human experience we were all navigating. It hit me then. I wasn't abandoned by everyone. Ethan's absence hurt deeply, but it also cleared space for genuine connections to shine through. For the first time in months, I felt a spark of gratitude. Not for what I lost, but for what I still had, the courage to keep going and the people who reminded me I wasn't as alone as I thought. Months later, I looked back at the girl I was when Ethan walked out, and I barely recognized her. I remembered the tears, the sleepless nights, the endless questions of, why wasn't I enough? But standing there, in my small but cozy apartment, surrounded by the warmth of people who truly cared, I realized I'd become stronger than I ever thought possible. Ethan never came back. He never apologized, never explained, never even tried to patch up what he broke. And surprisingly, I was okay with that. For a while, I thought closure had to come from him. But the truth is, closure came the moment I decided I didn't need him to move forward. I started taking better care of myself. Not just surviving, but actually living. I signed up for a cooking class, something I'd always wanted to do but never made time for. I began journaling every night, turning my thoughts into words that healed me instead of haunting me. And slowly, the weight of his abandonment turned into the wings of my independence. One evening, Sarah and I sat on my balcony, sipping tea. She looked at me and said, "You're glowing again, Emily. I'm proud of you." Her words sank deep because I knew she was right. I had built myself back up, not in spite of being abandoned, but because of it. The life lesson? Sometimes the people we think we need the most are the ones who hold us back from discovering our true strength. Ethan leaving felt like the end of my world, but it was really the beginning of a better one. And if anyone out there is listening, don't ever let someone else's choice define your worth. You are stronger than their absence, and your new beginning is waiting for you.